Hello, people. Trying to get this, picture good, but I'm in the shade and everything else is bathed in sunlight, so it's kind of got fucking white spots on the thing, and I don't know how the fuck to get it to come out good. It's Monday. I took a day off of work today. We're down here in Florida trying to get my plate. There's fucking technicalities again. I couldn't get my plate, so I wasted it. I took a day off for nothing. Burned up some fuel for nothing. But I finished the book last night. I don't know how that's coming out, but it's called Reading Lolita in Tehran. And the last time that we were at Books A Million, I bought that for my wife because I thought she would like it. I didn't really know anything about it. It's not too bad of a book. It took me a while to finish it. It's a non-typical book for me to read, but there ended up being some really good parts in it. I have finished all of my books. I do have a shit pile that has started down here. I have 2 books in my shit pile. So for today, and probably for the rest of the week, I'm going to try and get back to one of those books that's in the shit pile. But anyways, let's get to this one. The book is about a woman in Iran and, her life and everyone else's life around her, her parents, during this Islamic revolution with the Ayatollah Khomeini and Rafsanjani and all these names that ring a bell to a punk kid that grew up reading American newspapers and watching television during that era. She talks about the hostage thing just a little bit, really just a little bit, and completely omits the botched rescue attempt for the hostages. But just to give you an idea, where my head was at that time, there is a picture of me in the Dearborn Press and Guide. We were at a protest against Iran. I was holding a sign that said, "Honk if you hate Iran." I had a big bandage on my face because that's back when I used to get into fights a lot. And I was on the front page of the Dearborn Press and Guide. Let's get into the notes. It took me like 2 weeks to read this book. This was published in 2003, 343 pages. There was some other stuff at the end that I did also read. She talks about the revolution in Iran and what it was like to be a student at that time, and all the different groups of people that protested for and protested against. And I talked a little bit about what it was like to be here and to read about that in the newspaper. But these people had to live through that. And we just, my note here says, we just reacted as stupid Americans. She talks about the Iran-Iraq war quite a bit. They sent missiles to each other's city. Tehran was Saddam Hussein sent missiles into Tehran. Just random missiles killing civilians. I don't have much to read here. I only marked one thing because as I read the book, I started to compare the Islamic Revolution to kind of the white supremacist movement that's going on here in this country, and the evangelicals that are going on here in this country, and you think that this country could not get taken over by evangelicals, but if it ever did, it would be women that suffered more than men, and we're already to the point where we've nearly eliminated reproductive choice for women. And of course in Iran it's much worse. They can't even You know, they can't even show their hair. They can't wear makeup. Uh, One of the things that was really odd is a woman in Iran. I don't know what it's like now, but this is when they wrote the book. Because as towards the end of the book, these rules were supposed to be getting relaxed just a tiny bit. But while she was there in Iran, uh, she couldn't even walk down the street with a man that wasn't her husband or wasn't one of her relatives. You couldn't sit in a restaurant with another man that wasn't, a husband or a relative. And it just made me think about Mike Pence, where he would not allow himself to be in a room with a woman alone that wasn't his wife, which is very bizarre. Just very bizarre. So that kind of shit is lurking in every country. And it's really lurking here, too. So I got second paragraph, page 261, and then I changed my mind and I added "and third" to the bottom of the page. This just tells a little bit about. At the start of the 20th century, the age of marriage in Iran, 9, according to Sharia laws, was changed to 13, and then later to 18. My mother had chosen whom she wanted to marry, and she had been one of the first 6 women elected to Parliament in 1963. When I was growing up in the 60s, there was little difference between my rights and the rights of women in Western democracies. But it was not the fashion then to think that our culture was not compatible with modern democracy, that there were Western and Islamic versions of democracy and human rights. We all wanted opportunities and freedom. That is why we supported revolutionary change. We were demanding more rights, not fewer. I married, on the eve of the revolution, a man I loved. At that time, Mashid, Nasrin, Nana, and Azan were in their teens. These names are the names of the girls that are in the book. I didn't even mention really what the book is about. The book is about this little class that she gives. She gets tired of teaching. She quits her job, and she gives private classes on Western literature, classics. By the time my daughter was born 5 years later, the laws had regressed to what they had been before my grandmother's time. The first law to be repealed, months before the ratification of a new constitution, was the Family Protection Law, which guaranteed women's rights at home and at work. The age of marriage was lowered to 9, 8.5 lunar years, we were told. Adultery and prostitution were to be punished by stoning to death. And women under law were considered to have half the worth of men. So there's where they were at in 2003. She leaves her country and she comes to America. Something's biting me in the back, as usual here in Florida. She ends up leaving her country, and it's actually very sad because she loves her country. She loves the coffee houses, she loves the bookstores, which had all changed during her lifetime. I know people that were going to leave this country had the recent election turned out differently, and it's a sad thing because you invest in your country, you own things, and she had a house that she loved, and so it was a sad ending to the book. Thanks for watching.